Discover how a humble mechanic's life-changing fix revealed a millionaire's unexpected generosity. Mike glanced up from beneath the hood of a beat-up old pickup, wiping his brow with the back of his hand. The rhythmic clinking of tools filled the air, each sound a reminder of his father's legacy. At 38, the weight of keeping the family auto repair shop alive pressed heavily on his shoulders. It was more than just a business, it was a symbol of grit, rooted in the values his dad had drilled into him since he was a boy. It was about hard work, community, and resilience. But the rising costs of bills loomed like dark clouds, and Mike felt the storm brewing. Crazy things happen in small towns, and that day was no exception. Without warning, a sleek, shiny car pulled up in front of the shop, its paint glistening in the sun like a diamond. The door swung open, revealing a sharply dressed man with an air of mystery. Mike's heart raced. Could this be a break? The man introduced himself as Mr. Henderson, stranded with a dead battery. With a friendly smile, Mike welcomed him into his world, ready to share not just tools, but stories. As Mike worked on the car, the two traded tales. Mike spoke of his wife, Sarah, and their two little ones who filled their home with joy and laughter. Mr. Henderson shared snippets of his life, hinting at families with expectations that felt more like chains than dreams. An unlikely bond began to form, rich with understanding. But, beyond the repartee, anxiety gnawed at Mike like a hungry dog. A big mortgage payment was due, and the specter of financial ruin loomed large. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But as this thought raced through his mind, Mike's demeanor shifted. Pride got in the way. He refused Mr. Henderson's offers of assistance with the shop, believing that accepting help would feel like defeat. Each time Mr. Henderson subtly suggested a partnership or financial backing, Mike felt a rush of emotions: anger, shame, and bewilderment. They didn't share the same world, it seemed, yet here they were, two men standing on opposite sides of a divide neither dared acknowledge. In poignant moments, the truth emerged. Wealthy and seemingly carefree, Mr. Henderson opened up about the hidden troubles of his life, the loneliness that accompanied riches. In turn, Mike confronted his own fears, questioning whether his stubborn pride was worth risking his family's well-being. What had once been a simple connection filled with laughter had transformed into a stark reflection of their contrasting worlds. With the deadline for the mortgage looming like a shadow, Mike stood at a cliff's edge. He had to decide whether to stay true to his values or lean on the very generosity he had rejected. In the backdrop, tension thickened. Would he choose to embrace vulnerability and accept help? Or would he forge onward, even if it meant sacrificing his family's stability? The tension in the garage was palpable. Mike's hands trembled slightly as he tightened the last bolt on Mr. Henderson's car. Every twist of the wrench felt like a decision, a negotiation between pride and survival. Mike cleared his throat, fighting the knot forming there. He couldn't shake the feeling that the weight of the world was pressing down on him. "All right, Mr. Henderson," Mike said, forcing a smile. "Your ride's ready to roll." He wiped his hands on a rag, trying to hide the sweat glistening on his forehead. "Thank you, Mike." The millionaire's eyes sparkled with genuine appreciation. "You've done a hell of a job here." Mike nodded, but his heart raced in discomfort. He wanted to be grateful, but with gratitude came the undeniable truth lurking beneath the surface. The relief he so desperately needed to feel was wrapped up in accepting something he had refused. "I know things have been tough," Mr. Henderson said, a glimmer of concern flickering in his suave persona. "You're managing a lot on your own. I'd like to offer you something that might help." Mike's breath caught. The words hung between them like an invitation, yet the thought of accepting that kind of help felt like swallowing glass. "I appreciate it, but I'm good." He couldn't meet Henderson's gaze, his voice barely above a whisper. "Listen," Mr. Henderson leaned in, genuine intent in his voice. "I understand your hesitation. I come from a place of privilege. Trust me when I say I know what it's like to feel trapped by expectations. I'm not here to take over your business, just to lighten your load a bit." Lightening the load. The phrase echoed in Mike's mind, spinning around with all the confusion and fear of being a man raised to believe in hard work. To accept help would be to admit failure, to betray the legacy of his father. "You don't understand," Mike replied, the heat of desperation creeping into his tone. "If I can't make this work on my own, what does that say about me?" Mr. Henderson stepped back, a look of hurt flickering across his face. "It says you're human. We all need help sometimes." The mechanic's chest tightened with emotion. Vulnerability was a scary thing, and to reveal it felt like standing naked on stage. He clenched his fists, uncertainty pulling at his heartstrings. A soft voice broke the moment. The shop door creaked open, and there stood Sarah, holding their youngest child, her eyes scanning the garage with a knowing look that melted some of Mike's defenses. "Hey, love. I brought you lunch." Her presence grounded him, yet it also heightened his sense of conflict. The weight of the mortgage payment weighed heavier than ever, with her smile reminding him of what was at stake. "Mr. Henderson, this is my wife, Sarah," Mike introduced her, the tension in the room shifting as they exchanged pleasantries. The air seemed to crackle with unspoken words. "Your husband runs a tight ship here," Mr. Henderson said, smiling at Sarah. "He's doing an incredible job." A small flame of pride lit within Mike, but it flickered against the backdrop of fear. With the sight of his family, the fight inside him swelled. How could he reconcile his values with the possibility of a lifeline? As Sarah took a seat on an old stool, the weight of choices loomed larger. Mike felt trapped between two worlds, one that held steadfast to pride, and another that whispered of survival and connection. "Mike?" Sarah's soft voice interrupted his thoughts. "Are you all right?" He looked at her, the love in her eyes fueling an answer that felt both raw and hopeful. Yet, standing at that crossroad, he still wondered, could he embrace the hand offered to him, or would he continue down the path of solitary struggle? The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the garage floor, an eerie reminder of time slipping away. Would Mike decide to cross the divide? The answer lay just beyond his grasp, shrouded in uncertainty. The silence lingered, almost suffocating. Mike's heart raced, an erratic beat echoing the unspoken tension in the room. Sarah looked at him, concern etched on her face. She knew something was off. She always did. "Mike?" She prodded gently, her voice cutting through the haze of his thoughts. "What is going on?" His eyes darted between her and Mr. Henderson, panic bubbling within him. He could see the kindness in Henderson's eyes, the readiness to help. But to accept it? To let go of that tightly held pride? He hesitated, the words tangled in his throat. What could he say? "I need to figure things out. This business, it's everything to me." Sarah's gaze was soft but steady. "I get that, but you don't have to do it alone. Your back is against the wall, Mike. Sometimes it's okay to lean on others." The frustration bubbled up. "It's more than that, Sarah. Accepting help feels like giving up. I can't do that." His fists clenched tighter. The very idea made his stomach churn. In the silence that followed, Mike's eyes flickered to Mr. Henderson. The wealthy man wore an expression that was neither judgmental nor pitying, but rather a calm understanding. It pierced through Mike's defenses, leaving the mechanic feeling more exposed than he ever had. "Sometimes," Mr. Henderson said slowly, "the bravest thing you can do is accept kindness from someone who's willing to give it. I didn't get where I am on my own. I had mentors, friends, people who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. A sharp breath escaped Mike. It rang true, and for a moment, he felt his walls start to crack. The truth was, he'd been running on empty. Every late night spent in the garage, every tear-filled conversation with Sarah about bills and dreams slipping through their fingers, it was all on his shoulders. "Please, Mike," Sarah interjected, her voice soft yet firm. "What do you have to lose by letting someone help?" For a fleeting moment, Mike felt the weight of all the years of stubbornness and pride. Just as quickly, he pushed that thought aside. He took a step back, trying to regain his footing. How could he turn to help when he had always prided himself on being strong enough to do it alone? He focused on the toddler in Sarah's arms, the tot's wide eyes watching him. It struck him then, what kind of example was he setting? Did he want his children to carry the heavy burden of thinking they could never ask for help? Mr. Henderson broke the spell. "You're a good father, Mike. Don't forget that. You're teaching your kids how to work hard, but you're also showing them what it means to struggle under the weight of the world." Mike's throat tightened again as he felt the truth of Henderson's words. Maybe he needed to do what was best for his family, not just his pride. Slowly, he unlocked his clenched fists and took a deep breath. "I'll think about it," he finally said, looking at Henderson. Hope flickered in Sarah's eyes, but doubt still simmered in Mike's gut. As the sun sank lower in the sky, the shadows deepened, reflecting the turmoil of his heart. He was still standing at that crossroad. As the door creaked again, they turned to see a group of kids playing outside, laughter spilling into the garage. For a moment, Mike let that sound coat him like a warm blanket, pulling him away from his conflict. What would it take for him to break free from the chains of pride? What more would it cost him before he recognized the simple truth: help wasn't a weakness, but a bridge to something stronger? And just as that thought settled, he felt Henderson's hand on his shoulder. "Let us talk tomorrow, Mike. No pressure, just a conversation." The invitation hung in the air, tension mingling with possibility. Could this be the way forward? With hope wavering like a candle in the wind, Mike wondered whether tomorrow would bring clarity or confusion. Would he reach for the lifeline or resist? The answer baked in the warmth of the fading day, just out of reach. Morning light streamed through the garage windows, warming the space that had felt so heavy and daunting just the night before. Mike took a deep breath, the scent of oil and metal grounding him. He was alone, the familiar hum of machinery around him a comfort, yet there was a new energy tinged with uncertainty that he thought about Henderson's offer, the way the man had reached out without pressure. "Just a conversation," he had said. Mike found himself pacing, running his hands through his hair. Did he really want to step into that world? The last thing he wanted was to stumble into a reality that felt so far removed from his own. The morning felt heavy with potential. What if he did accept help? Would that mean he was weak? The idea felt foreign, almost bitter, yet enticing in a way. His thoughts drifted back to Sarah and the kids, their laughter brightening even the longest days. They needed him to be strong, to show them that hard work paid off. But what if that hard work was in letting someone guide him? Suddenly, the garage door creaked open, and Sarah stepped in, her eyes bright with morning enthusiasm. "Hey! The kids are at the playground. Thought I'd come check on you," she said, a smile lighting up her face. "Yeah, just thinking," he replied, his voice strained, her smile faltered slightly, concern creeping back into her expression. "About last night?" He nodded, the air thick with unspoken words. "Mike, it's okay to be unsure. Just remember, you don't have to carry this weight alone." She moved closer, her gaze steady. "We can all use a little help sometimes." The words echoed in his mind. His heart raced as he wrestled with his defenses. How would accepting help change everything he thought he knew about being a man, a father, a provider? "Sarah," he said, hesitating. "I don't want to mess things up for us. I can't risk everything on someone else's." "Look," she cut in gently but firmly. "All I want is for you to be happy. If that means having a conversation with Mr. Henderson, then let's do it." Let us see where it leads. He could see it in her eyes, the unwavering faith she had in him. That spark of hope he had seen the night before flared to life again. It made him question his fears. What if the talk with Henderson could open doors he hadn't imagined? Okay, I'll call him, Mike finally admitted, his voice softer than he intended. A smile broke on Sarah's face, lighting up the dimness of his doubt. See? That wasn't so hard, she teased lightly, but there was a tenderness in her laughter, a relief that hung in the air between them. His stomach churned, but in a different way now. The acceptance of help didn't feel like surrender, it felt like a choice. As Sarah walked to the door, she paused and turned back. Just remember, you're not just doing this for you. The kids learn from what we do. Show them it's okay to lean on each other. Her words hung in the air like an open invitation. It was a truth that resonated beyond his moment of decision. After he made the call to Henderson, Mike stood alone in the garage once more. His heart raced. Was he really doing this? The clock ticked softly in the background, counting down to their meeting. How much would he be willing to share? How far would he let someone in? He glanced out the window to see the kids playing, the sun glinting off their joyful faces. The warmth flooded over him, mixing with fear and excitement. A new chapter was beginning, but at what cost? As he settled into his seat, tapping his fingers on the table, he wondered one last time before the conversation began, what if this was more than just accepting help? What if it was discovering who he truly was? The door swung open again, and Henderson stepped in, his expression open and inviting. Ready to talk? He asked, and Mike couldn't help but nod, a rush of emotions unfolding. This was it. Would the decision he was making lead to empowerment or bring forth yet another struggle? The answer loomed just beyond the threshold of silence and possibility. Henderson took a seat across from Mike, his demeanor calm, almost fatherly. There was something about his presence that put Mike slightly at ease, though the tightness in his chest still lingered. Thanks for meeting with me, Henderson said, his voice steady. I know it can be tough to open up. Mike cleared his throat, searching for words. I don't know what to expect, he admitted, shifting in his chair. That's completely normal, Henderson replied, leaning forward slightly. You're here because you recognize a place you want to improve. It's a brave step, Mike. A nervous smile flicked across Mike's face. Brave? He felt more like a man stepping off a cliff. I've been struggling. Juggling work and family, it's overwhelming. Tell me about what's overwhelming, Henderson encouraged gently. Mike hesitated and then let out a shaky breath. I've been trying to keep everything under control, you know? I want to be the kind of dad who can provide for his family, but I feel like I'm failing. There's a pressure to succeed, to do everything right. It's suffocating sometimes. Henderson nodded, absorbing Mike's words. And the more you push, the more it weighs on you. It's okay to feel lost in that. It doesn't make you weak, it just makes you human. Mike blinked, feeling a subtle shift within him, a desire to share more, to peel back the layers of stress that had built up over time. I think I'm scared of what admitting I need help means. I've always thought being strong meant doing it all alone. That's a common misconception, Henderson replied, his eyes sincere. Real strength comes from recognizing when you need support and asking for it. No one does it all alone. The heaviness on Mike's heart began to lift a little. Henderson's words resonated, something deep within stirring. You don't understand, he said, voice slightly wavering. This is about more than just me. I want to show my kids that hard work and determination matter. I want them to be proud. The warmth of family pride tinged his voice, but beneath that emotion lay fear. What if he didn't succeed? What if he failed them? And they will be proud of you, Henderson said, leaning back in his chair. But you have to start being kind to yourself first. That's where everything begins. Mike wanted to argue, wanted to cling to his notions of self-reliance, but for the first time, a glimmer of doubt toward those beliefs crept in. What if I can't change? What if I'm too far gone? You're not, Henderson responded, his tone unwavering. Change is a process, and every small step counts. You've taken the first one by sitting here with me. It's about figuring out what support looks like for you. A weight shifted in Mike's chest, but the flutter of hope mingled with his uncertainty. He thought of Sarah and the kids, their laughter echoing in his mind. Maybe he didn't have to bear the burden of being strong alone. Perhaps strength stemmed from vulnerability. The meeting flowed, the conversation blossoming into deeper discussions about values, expectations, and the walls he'd built around himself. With every question Henderson asked, Mike felt more capable of opening up, sharing pieces of his story he'd usually keep hidden. Then, as the hour came to a close, Henderson paused and looked straight at him. It's okay to lean on each other, Mike. There's a world out there full of people ready to help you carry your burdens. You just have to let them in. Mike sat back, absorbing everything, the realization dawning that perhaps this journey was about more than just fixing his own struggles. It was about finding a way to teach his kids that the strength of community, of family, might endure even the toughest of challenges. As he left the meeting, Mike looked out at the sunset. A vibrant swirl of colors painted the sky, and he felt a flicker of something he had long thought impossible: hope. But what would happen if he faltered again? What if this was just the beginning of a much harder path? Would he be brave enough to navigate it? Those thoughts plagued him as he walked home, but Sarah was waiting, and he had a feeling that this time, he could share his truth. He could try, and that mattered most. And as he turned the final corner, the image of his children playing, unburdened by life's challenges, flashed before him once more. They deserved to see their dad, not just as their protector, but as a man learning to embrace his own complexities. Facing that new challenge, he couldn't shake the question that lingered: what if opening up finished breaking him down, only to build something stronger? The door to his family home stood open, and in that moment, Mike realized it was time to step into the new possibilities that awaited him. As Mike stepped through the familiar doorway, the scent of home wrapped around him like a warm blanket. Kids' laughter bubbled up from the living room, where he could see Sarah perched on the floor, surrounded by crayons and scribbled drawings. A wave of affection washed over him, momentarily pushing the weight on his shoulders aside. "Daddy!" His youngest, Lily, squealed, her little arms reaching out for him. In that moment, any hesitation he felt about sharing what he'd learned began to fade. He knelt down, wrapping her in a bear hug. "Hey, buddy. Did you have a good day?" he asked, his heart swelling as she chattered about her latest artistic creation. "Look at my dragon." She held up a sheet filled with wild, colorful strokes. Mike couldn't help but beam. Her dragon looked fierce, and the pride in her voice reminded him what he was really fighting for. As he turned toward Sarah, who was tidying up the scattered crayons, he took a deep breath. He wanted to spill everything: the swirling thoughts, the meeting with Henderson, the hope that felt so fragile and new. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice steady yet vulnerable. Sarah's expression shifted, a mixture of curiosity and concern washing over her features. "Of course. Is everything okay?" Mike glanced at Lily, still lost in her imaginative world, and nodded toward the kitchen for some privacy. As they settled at the small table, he could feel his palms sweating. But the urge to be honest felt stronger than the fear gripping him. "I met with someone today," he started, his throat tightening. "A counselor. I wanted to talk about everything that's been building up inside me." Her brow furrowed slightly. "What do you mean, everything?" "I've been feeling overwhelmed," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Like I'm failing as a dad. I thought I had to have it all together, you know? But I realize I can't do it alone." The silence stretched between them. Mike's heart raced as he stared at Sarah, waiting for her reaction. "I think," she finally said, her voice softening, "that it takes a lot of courage to admit that." "I'm scared," Sarah. I don't want to let you or the kids down. What if I can't change? What if opening up just exposes how broken I really am? Sarah reached across the table and took his hand. Mike, you're not broken. You're just human. We've both been carrying a lot, but it doesn't mean we're failures. Maybe it's time we face it together. You don't have to go through this alone. His heart swelled. The comfort of her words coaxed out the fears he had tucked away, and he felt a wave of relief wash over him. Maybe there was strength in sharing, in acknowledging their struggles together. Really? He asked, voice thick with emotion. You think it's possible? Absolutely, she said. Let us support each other. Let us show the kids that it's okay to ask for help. If we model that strength, they'll learn it too. The thought of it sent a charge through him, shaping a new legacy for their kids, rooting it in vulnerability and community instead of isolation. That was a strength he wanted to teach. Their conversation shifted to plans for the future and ways they could support each other better. It felt like peeling back layers of a much bigger picture, revealing a home filled with love, patience, and understanding. After dinner, as they tucked the kids into bed, Mike couldn't shake off the warmth that had settled in his heart. He kissed Lily goodnight, whispering promises of a brighter tomorrow, and then stepped into the hallway where Sarah waited. What's next for us? He asked, hopeful yet apprehensive. I think we should reach out to others, she suggested, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Maybe find a group where we can connect and learn from others who've been through similar things. The thought of community stirred something deep in him. Could they find the support they needed? And as they walked to the living room, Mike felt a shift, not just in himself, but in his family unit. There was potential for a new beginning. But deep within, another question loomed: could they truly embrace vulnerability as a family, and what would that look like in practice? He turned back to Sarah, feeling that familiar flicker of hope igniting once more. What was possible if they really leaned into this journey together? Mike spent the next few days in a whirlwind of excitement and anxiety. The thought of joining a support group flickered in his mind like a neon sign. It was both daunting and refreshing. He felt like a bird testing its wings for the first time, unsure whether it would catch the wind or plummet to the ground. Are you excited about tonight? Sarah asked, her tone light yet laden with understanding. They were in the car, children nestled in their seats as Mike navigated the familiar streets toward the community center. Honestly, I'm terrified. His knuckles clenched on the steering wheel, the shiny surface betraying his inner turmoil. What if they see me as just another guy who can't handle his life? You're not just another guy, Mike. You're a dad, a husband, and you're learning, Sarah reassured him, placing a gentle hand on his thigh. This is a step. It doesn't define you. Her encouragement wrapped around him, momentarily chasing away the fear creeping back in. As they pulled into the parking lot, Mike's heart raced. The community center loomed in front of them, bathed in soft, inviting light. Forcing himself to breathe deeply, he opened the car door. They walked in together, their hands brushing against one another. The room buzzed with a low hum, voices mingling with laughter and the occasional clink of cups. They were greeted by a woman named Rachel, warm and welcoming. So glad you made it, she said with a wide smile, her zest for life palpable. We're just getting started. Sitting in a circle with the other attendees, Mike felt a mix of warmth and anxiety. He glanced at Sarah, who gave him a reassuring nod. As they went around the room to share, stories of struggles and victories poured out. Love, loss, and journeys intertwined in the soft light. Each confession felt like a thread, weaving a tapestry of shared humanity. When it was Mike's turn, he felt the eyes of the group on him. I've been feeling lost, he began, his voice shaking slightly. Like I'm not enough for my family. I've tried to carry it all alone, but I guess I'm here because I know I need help. The room fell quiet, empathy radiating from the others. Heads nodded, and a man with graying hair leaned forward. "You're not alone. I was where you are. It takes real strength to share that." As the conversations flowed, Mike found himself letting go of pieces of his burden he hadn't even known he was still holding. Laughter erupted, and tears were shed, the room pulsating with a form of energy he had missed. It felt like a release, like he was no longer swallowing shadows but exhaling light. After the meeting, Sarah turned to him, her eyes sparkling. "How do you feel?" "I didn't expect it to be this freeing," he admitted, a tentative smile playing on his lips. "It was good to hear I'm not the only one fighting this." As they left the community center, a wave of warmth washed over him. It felt as if a storm had begun to clear. He and Sarah walked hand in hand through the parking lot, laughter replacing the heavy silence of days gone by. "Maybe this is just the start," he mused. "What if we could find ways to help each other even more?" "I love that idea," she chimed, excitement dancing in her voice. "Imagine doing this more often, building a support network that can uplift each other." Mike considered it, imagining more evenings filled with people who understood. But just as a blossoming thought began to take root in his mind, a shadow crossed his heart. What if the journey wasn't smooth? What if not everyone welcomed their vulnerability? As they reached the car, a relatively familiar face from the group approached them. "Hey Mike," the man said, eyes alight with possibility. "I sensed something different in you tonight. What if we teamed up to start something even bigger? A community project? An initiative?" Surprise coursed through Mike. Could that really be possible? The thought sent a cascade of emotions racing through him. Before he could respond, another question flickered to life. Would he have the courage to step past his fears again, this time for something greater than just himself? The next morning, Mike awoke feeling lighter. The sun streamed through the window, casting golden rays onto his face. He blinked, still swirling with thoughts of the night before, the laughter, the stories, the connections made. It felt surreal, almost dreamlike. As he sipped his coffee, Sarah joined him at the table. "Ready for today?" she asked, her voice brightening the morning. "More than ready," he replied, a wave of resolve rising within him. "After last night, I think I could handle anything." Their children bustled around the house, their youthful energy infectious. Watching them play, Mike felt a sudden surge of gratitude. This was the heart of his world, the laughter, the chaos, the imperfect beauty of family life. With each moment, his heart began to ignite with something more, a sense of purpose. What if they could do more than just gather once a week? The thought of starting that community project weighed heavily on him, but in a way that felt exciting rather than overwhelming. Throughout the morning, Mike's mind buzzed with ideas. He pictured himself standing at that community center again, this time not just sharing his story, but leading initiatives that brought people together, a support network that could change lives. At lunch, he opened up to Sarah again. "What do you think about the idea of starting a community project?" Her eyes widened. "You're really thinking about it?" "I am," he said, feeling conviction settle deep in his bones. "I want to help others the way this group helped me. What if we created workshops? Support sessions? Even family events?" "I love it!" she exclaimed, her enthusiasm contagious. "Imagine the connections we could build. We could reach so many people." But then the doubt crept back in. "What if I fail? What if I'm not enough?" he mumbled, fear creeping back in. "Honestly?" she replied, her expression serious, yet soft. "What if you succeed? What if you make a real difference?" Their conversation swirled around him, a blend of excitement and apprehension whispering sweet possibilities. Mike's heart pounded as he weighed the risks and rewards. He knew the challenges would be many, but for the first time, he felt equipped to face them. As afternoon turned into evening, Mike's phone buzzed. It was Rachel from the support group. "Hey Mike. I loved your energy last night. We'd love for you to help us with planning the next meeting." We think it might grow even bigger. His heart raced. You really think so? Yes. Just imagine the impact. And you could be a big part of that. The words wrapped around him like a warm hug. For the first time, he felt like he wasn't standing still, he was moving forward, ready to take action. That night, he gathered the family around the dinner table. I want to share something, he began, his voice steady, a spark of excitement igniting within him. I'm thinking of starting a community project. Something that can help us all connect more deeply. The kids shared curious glances, while Sarah's smile widened. That sounds amazing. One of the children exclaimed, bouncing in their seat. Encouraged by their responses, Mike felt emboldened. It's pretty raw right now, but I want this to be a space where families can share and grow together. As dinner continued, ideas flowed freely, unleashing a newfound energy that enveloped the room. By the time they finished, Mike felt lighter. Yes, there would be challenges, but each time he pondered the fears, he could feel an ember inside him spark to life. With everyone gathered, Mike could hardly contain his excitement, but deep down, a nagging fear clung to him. The journey ahead stretched out like an uncharted road, winding and uncertain. Yet, the glimmer of hope outweighed his anxiety, urging him forward. Just as he began to feel that familiar rush of purpose again, a message dinged on his phone, this time from the man he'd met at the community center. Let's meet to discuss your project. I know some folks who might be interested in getting involved. His breath hitched, anticipation snarling in his chest. Could he actually do it? The thought of embracing a new chapter in his life bore down on him. Would he rise to the occasion, or would fear hold him back once more? The next day, Mike woke up with a nervous flutter in his stomach. His meeting with the man from the community center loomed ahead, and as he stood in the kitchen brewing his morning coffee, the weight of the moment pressed on him. The sunlight streaming through the window now felt like a spotlight, illuminating the uncertainties dancing around him. Dad, are you excited for today? One of his kids chirped, bursting into the kitchen with open arms, ready for a hug. Their innocent enthusiasm was a welcome distraction from Mike's swirling thoughts. Absolutely. Just a little nervous, he admitted, ruffling their hair affectionately. His daughter grinned, you've got this. You're the best. Those words settled in his heart, filling him with just enough courage to combat his self-doubt. With a smile, he packed up a few notes, his hands trembling slightly, not from a lack of readiness, but from the raw possibility that lay before him. At the appointed hour, Mike arrived at the community center, and the butterflies in his stomach fought to escape. The man he was meeting, Tom, stood leaning against the entrance, his frame tall and welcoming. Mike took a deep breath and approached. Hey, Mike. Glad you came, Tom said, extending his hand with a firm shake. Thanks for meeting with me, Mike replied, pushing down the tremor in his voice. I'm ready to talk about the project. They settled into a small conference room filled with colorful charts and flyers of past community events. As Mike began to outline his ideas, he felt his nerves dissolve, like ice thawing under the sun. I'd love to hear what you have in mind, Tom encouraged, leaning forward with genuine interest. As I said, I want to create a space where families can connect, but also where people can get the help they need. Workshops, group sessions, family activities, things that can really bring our neighbors together, Mike explained, his passion spilling out. Sounds fantastic. With the right support, this could really take off, Tom said, his eyes gleaming. You're already halfway there. The community needs someone like you. Encouraged by Tom's words, Mike felt hope swell in his chest. They discussed logistics, potential challenges, and avenues for funding. Mike's enthusiasm grew with each exchange, stoking the fire of conviction within him, but then, amidst the brainstorming, Tom revealed something unexpected. One of my buddies is a local businessman who has a big heart for community projects. He's made some significant donations before. Maybe I could connect you two. The offer hit Mike like a sudden gust of wind. The prospect of having financial support made his stomach churn with a mix of excitement and anxiety. It was a chance, but it also felt daunting. That could be amazing, but what if I waste his time? Trust me, real people with real stories are what he wants to invest in. He's all about making a difference, Tom reassured him. Mike nodded, the simplicity of it comforting yet profound. Could this really unfold as he envisioned? As they continued discussing specifics, he felt that familiar rush again, the one that came from standing on the precipice of change. After their meeting, as he walked to the car, all the possibilities washed over him. The weight of earlier uncertainty began to lift, replaced by a sense of purpose that grew stronger with every step. Later that night, Mike gathered the family once more. He shared the news about his meeting and introduced the idea of the potential donor. Excitement buzzed around the dinner table, a beautiful chorus of voices chiming in with ideas and hopes. "Dad, would we get to do fun activities?" one child asked with wide eyes. "Absolutely. Imagine game nights, crafts, and even movie screenings," Mike replied, smiling as he felt a rush of warmth from their enthusiasm. As the chatter filled the room, Mike's heart swelled with hope. Maybe he could do this. Maybe they all could, yet, a new undercurrent of anxiety began to creep in again. Was he really ready for the scrutiny that would come with involving a businessman in their vision? What if he didn't live up to expectations? With these thoughts racing through his mind, Mike realized the stakes had risen. The path ahead seemed vibrant, but uncertainty lay in wait at every turn. As he stood up to clear the table, the weight settled back in a call from Tom about the investor might be just around the corner, and with it, everything could change. Would he embrace the challenge, or draw back to safety? The answer felt both vital and uncertain. And as Mike glanced out the window at the darkening sky, he couldn't shake the feeling that the real test was only beginning. Would his dreams build a bridge or run aground? The morning felt different as Mike prepared for Tom's call. The air buzzed with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. Today, everything could change. The sun streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating the clutter of breakfast. "Dad, are you okay?" one of his kids asked, sensing his tension. "Just getting ready for something big," he replied, forcing a smile. He placed a reassuring hand on his child's head, but his heart raced with uncertainty. After sending the kids off to school, Mike settled in with a cup of coffee, the warmth coursing through him a comfort. There it was, the flicker of hope he had nurtured. But it simmered alongside fear. What if he wasn't ready? What if he failed? As the anticipated hour approached, his phone buzzed, jolting him from his thoughts. It was Tom. "Hey, Mike. You ready?" "Yeah, let's do this," Mike said, his voice steady. That simple reassurance felt like a lifeline. Tom guided him through the logistics of preparing for the meeting with the businessman. "Just be yourself. Share your vision, your passion will resonate." The simple advice brought clarity, and Mike hung up feeling a rush of determination. When he arrived at the cafe where the meeting was set, he looked around, trying to project confidence. It was just him, the businessman, and a vision that could bridge the divides of their community. As he sat waiting, the resonating laughter and chatter around him seemed distant but comforting. He was ready to lean into vulnerability. He was prepared to share not only his ideas but also his journey. Moments later, a tall man walked in, exuding a commanding presence. "Mike?" he asked, extending a hand. "Yeah, that's me," Mike said, trying to gauge the energy of this new ally. "Great to meet you. I'm Kevin. Let's hear about your vision." As Mike spoke, he poured his heart into the words. He described the laughter of kids, the warmth of families sitting together, sharing stories, and overcoming struggles. As he shared his own journey of growth, he felt the weight of his fears fade, replaced by an exhilarating buoyancy. Kevin listened intently, nodding at all the right moments. "This is a heartfelt mission," he said. "I admire the spirit behind it. Community is everything. A nervous energy buzzed through Mike as he began to detail how their work could foster connections, build support, and create a vibrant hub for families. Let us give people a place to come together, to not feel alone in their struggles, he added, his voice steadying with conviction. I see potential in this, Kevin said thoughtfully. It's inspiring to know you're motivated by love for your family and community. The conversation flowed. They brainstormed ideas and possibilities, each suggestion unfolding before them like a tapestry of hope. Why don't we partner up? Kevin suggested, excitement flashing in his eyes. I can contribute not only financial support but also resources and connections. We could take this to the next level. Joy bloomed in Mike's chest. You'd really do that? Of course. Let us change lives together. They solidified plans: a launch event, a community day, and initiatives that could build a real network of support. Ideas flowed back and forth like a wave crashing into the shore, each one drawing them closer to a shared vision. As they wrapped up the meeting, Mike's heart hammered with a mix of excitement and disbelief. I can't thank you enough, he said, genuine gratitude spilling out. Just remember, Kevin said, leaning in. You're not alone in this. We're all in it together. Leaving the cafe, Mike stepped outside into the bright sunlight. He took a deep breath, letting the joy sink in. He had turned a page, not just for himself, but his family and many others. Back at home, Mike burst through the door with an energy that lit up the room. You won't believe what just happened, he exclaimed, finding Sarah in the living room, their kids playing nearby. What? Tell us. She cried, her eyes wide with delight. I have a partner for the community project. And financial backing. Kevin wants to work with us. Cheers erupted, the kids jumping up and down, echoing their father's enthusiasm. Sarah rushed him and wrapped him in a tight embrace. Oh my gosh, Mike, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you. In that moment, he felt a rush of joy, a real, palpable thrill of hope wrapping around him like a warm blanket. After celebrating, they gathered around the table, brainstorming more ideas for their project, excitement igniting a passion that filled the air. With each laugh and suggestion, they built a new legacy not rooted in just hard work or pride, but in connection and community. It was a beautiful transformation, fueled by vulnerability and support. As they shared their dreams, Mike realized that leaning into each other would strengthen their bonds even further. I never imagined we could do this together, Mike said softly, feeling the weight of gratitude fill his heart. His kids, glowing with excitement, looked up at their dad. We can help too, right? His youngest chimed in. Absolutely. This is our family project, Mike said, beaming. As laughter echoed through the house, Mike understood something profound. True strength wasn't about carrying everything alone, it was about sharing burdens and creating a support system that thrived. It was about embracing vulnerability to build something more remarkable. The door was open now for healing, and growth tomorrow would bring new possibilities. And as he held his family close, Mike felt a profound sense of peace settle within him. At that moment, he knew, they were ready to step into that new chapter together. Now, don't just sit there. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you won't miss any of these exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help the community grow. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. We want to hear from you, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us inspire more people together. You need to show your support.